Good evening, everybody. MG here. MG Covers bringing you another brand new handicapping video. Title of this video is Recognizing Trends in the First Half of the MLB Season and How to Profit in the Second Half. Those of you that follow me know that this has been a very challenging year, not only for me, but a lot of professional sports handicappers. I'm sitting at 2 units total profit, so it could be worse. And again, there's always a few sports handicappers that will end up doing well. But for the most part, it is a down year for a lot of people. Excuse me. We're going to talk about a lot of those trends moving forward. Well, the biggest thing is pitching's been way down, especially bullpen. Teams have just been hitting the ball like crazy. OPS numbers are up for a lot of teams, a lot of players, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. But anyway, I'm going to talk about what's happening in Major League Baseball this first half, and then give you some angles. Some things that you can look at in order to play to be profitable in the second half. So let's take a look. All right, this first slide, this is the run line betting records year to date for all the teams. You look at the Yankees run line. Remember that this is where a team has to win by more than one run. They have to win by 2 in order to win. You'll see that line is -1.5. All right, so Yankees are at 52.36. They're at 59%. If you look all the way at the bottom, Detroit, 41%. Now, I gave this out on Instagram. I talked about this earlier. Get my notes in front of me. This is really interesting. Yankees are up 18 units on the run line. That's just the run line, okay? Texas up 15 units on the run line. Arizona up 12 units on the run line. Angels up 9 units on the run line. And Oakland is up 7 units on the run line. Check this out. Those are the only 5 teams in Major League Baseball this first half of the season that's over 5 units on the run line. Everybody else there's only like maybe another 5 teams that were like between 2 and 3 units. Everybody else in the negative. So that is very interesting. And I'm going to talk about one of the reasons why that is. Again, pitching so bad. So you have even a good team, it's easy for those guys to end up losing the game because you can't rely on, we don't have really any shutdown closers anymore. So it makes the games a lot tighter. So that being said, one first strategy that I notated. Let me show you this next slide here. This is the run line for home teams. This is just amazing. The home team run line, those teams only won 45% of the time. That's amazing. And look how big the gap is on the away teams. Away teams winning at 54%. You say, well, why is that? Why are the away teams winning at 54%, home teams at 45%? Now, I mentioned this before. Some of you may already know this. The away team is always guaranteed 9 at bats. So it doesn't matter if they're up 3-2, 13-2, whatever. The away team will always bat in the top of the ninth. The problem for the home team, if they're winning 3-2, they're not batting in the bottom of the ninth. So what's so important, another reason for that big spread is there's not many closers in the game that can shut down. Bullpens are not good. So you have these away teams going into that ninth inning and, coming back on the home team, closing that gap on the run line. So my advice, pretty much for me, I'm going to stay away from the run line because I didn't go back and check every single game, but I'm pretty sure I had a losing record, lost a significant amount of units on just playing the run line this year. So if I do play the run line, it will definitely only be with an away team, and it will probably be very few games, if any, because again, it just wasn't a profitable strategy. And you can even look back to the chart. Look at Oakland. There's only 5 teams over 53% on the run line. I mean, you got these teams, Cleveland 51%, Milwaukee 50%, Philadelphia 50%, and it goes all the way down to Detroit at 41%. So not a profitable, very few. I don't believe there's anybody, sports handicapper, maybe you have the record to show it, that was profitable first half of the season on the run line. So stay away from the run line. And if you do play it, make sure you play an away team that can hit the ball. All right. Okay, I was just reviewing on that. My bad. All right, so next, let's look at the money line. This is just basic overall win-loss record. And all I did was I just recorded the 1, 2, 3, the top 5 took screenshots of the top 5. Dodgers 60 and 32. This is interesting. They're winning at 65%, which is a really good margin. Their units they've earned on the money line are 11. So that's pretty good. If you're looking at this over here to the right, that's Joe, my stat guy, created all that. That's a margin of victory, run line plus or minus. Now, Yankees 57 and 31, 64%. They also have 11 units in the first half of the season. And so basically what that means, if you'd have played all of the Yankees games on the money line, every single game from beginning of the season till now, you would be up 11 units with the Yankees. Now, Houston, this is interesting, 63% win percentage, but they're only up 2 units year to date. So if you're watching this live or watching the recording, I'm going to give you guys about 5 seconds to figure out why that is. So why would you think Houston, even though they've won at 63%, are only up 2 units? The reason? They're extremely overvalued. And many times when Verlander's on the mound, man, books have been, I think it was one game they were at minus 330. So you're paying heavy juice, and not only for Verlander, but a couple of those guys starting. So the public perceives their pitching staff as really good. And again, Verlander, when he's on the mound, he's going to get a lot of action. So they're going to bump that, inflate that line, make it difficult. Shade it is the proper handicapping term. So not really a good play on Houston there for unit wise. Now, this is another interesting. Minnesota, 56 and 33, 62% win percentage on the money line. Look at this, 16 units. And I'll tell you one of the reasons, they're kind of a sneaky good team this year, have good pitching, decent pitching, I should say, really good hitting. And they're not a popular team like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, like Houston. So when you have this team that's not as popular, the Dodgers, it doesn't matter if they're having a good season or poor season, they're going to get money. And you got to remember the whole objective of a sports book is to even money. So Minnesota's one of those sneaky teams that you can really look to play in the second half that has a lot of value, that will have a lot of value more times than not, and probably more so than the Yankees and the Dodgers. And finally, the next team money line, Atlanta Braves, my Atlanta Braves, 54 and 37, 59% win percentage, 11 units. Now, when you look at those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams, or in essence, the 4 teams with the most units won on the money line, Dodgers, Yankees, Minnesota, Atlanta, you say, well, how do you know? You're just looking at win-loss record. Well, how do we know that is based on this little chart right here. This is year-to-date OPS. If you look at the teams on the left, the top 6 teams on the left, and you look at the far right where it says OPS, OPS, those of you that don't follow me regularly, OPS is on base plus slugging. It is a very, very, very popular stat. And it's one of the things that's changing Major League Baseball. I'm going to explain it to you briefly. I came up with this with my sort of my own analogy. And what the reason teams are scoring a lot of runs, walks are up this year, home runs are up this year, is that teams understand OPS. And the game is so much different right now. I'm going to give you an example. All right, we're going to talk about OPS. Again, like years ago, people, batting average was the thing everybody went after. Well, OPS accounts for everything. It counts for how often you get on base as well as slugging, which counts all the bases. So if you get a triple, that counts in not only getting on base, but also gives you, quote, 3 bases. So I'm going to talk about a scenario, and I'm going to come back to this chart, but just kind of visualize this with me. Runners are on first and second. There's 1 out. Okay. Runner first and second. The hitter is at the plate. What is that hitter trying to do in today's game, 2019? He's trying to hit it out of the ballpark. He's trying to hit a home run with runners on first and second, 1 out. That batter is trying to hit a home run. So what does he do? He is waiting on his pitch, which means he's not chasing, he's not chasing a bad pitch, or he might chase a bad pitch, but he is looking for his pitch. Maybe his pitch is the, high fastball. Maybe his pitch is the, changeup. He is waiting on his pitch. So what does that do to the pitcher? It puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher, because how many mistakes does he have to make for that guy to hit one out of the ballpark? One mistake, one bad pitch, and he pitches that hitter's pitch, he's sitting at a ballpark. And again, like I said before, the game has changed. They understand OPS. Runners on first and second, one out. That hitter's thinking, what? I'm trying to jack one out of the park, especially if he can hit a home run. Most players today can hit home runs. Bryce Harper's in the lead spot. Ron Acuna's in the lead spot. I mean, you have good hitters. It's hard to pitch around these lineups in today's game. Now, I'm going to go back to that example, first and second, one out. So let's say that batter strikes out, right? Now we have 2 outs, okay? What is the next guy doing that's up? He's doing the same thing. He's trying to jack one out. He's not trying to get a single. He's trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, which again puts pressure on that pitcher. So let's say that pitcher averages, I don't know what the average pitch count, I probably should know that per batter. Let's say, I'm guessing maybe it's 8 or 9, something like that. So that pitcher has to throw 9 pitches to the previous batter. He's got to throw 9 to this next batter. So out of 18 pitches, he can't give that batter his favorite pitch. And what happens a lot of times, he does give him that favorite pitch. And that's when you have that guy jacks one out of the ballpark, hits a home run. OPS numbers go up. Again, they end up scoring 3 as opposed to base hit where it's only going to score 1. So definitely that's part of what you're seeing in the game. There was an excellent article on ESPN. It's probably still up there if you want to read about it. OPS, it gives a lot more detail. It's a really good article. It talks about OPS and how the hitters are aware of it, teams are aware of it, et cetera, et cetera. And even when you're watching a game this day and time, I watch all the Braves games. They post the players, the hitters' OPS numbers. So anyway, back to our chart. So you have Dodgers, Yankees, Minnesota, and Atlanta with the most units on the money line. And ironically, we look here, Minnesota, Dodgers, Yankees, Braves are also tops in OPS year to date. So when you're looking for teams to play on the money line, look for teams that have high OPS. Again, this will change in the way that I handicap. Those of you that follow me, I only use stats from the last 10 games. So a lot of times it might not necessarily be the Dodgers. It might be the Pirates who are on a hot streak. Might be the Indians on a hot streak. So what we're doing is we're trying to find those teams that are hitting the ball really well in that 10-game span and to play that team on the money line. But overall, if you're just looking for safe bets, Minnesota, Dodgers, Yankees, Braves, when you have value, are good teams to play on the money line. All right. Another strategy you can do would be just the opposite. You want to play against bad teams on the money line. So what I did here, I did basically the same thing. I took the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the 6 worst teams of OPS hitting in baseball for the first half of the season. So look at the Toronto Blue Jays, 710 OPS. Check this out, down 17 units. So if you just played played against Toronto on the money line year to date, minus 17. And the reason this strategy is a pretty good strategy, maybe more so than playing those other teams I just mentioned that are good hitting teams, because the value you will find when you bet against Toronto. So maybe Toronto's not playing New York Yankees. Maybe Toronto's playing Cincinnati, one of those middle of the road teams. And you could possibly even get, maybe you'll get, minus 110, even minus 115 money to play against them, which is not bad at all. Kansas City, year to date, minus 20 units. Baltimore, minus 17 units. That's another good team to play against. Those 3, Toronto, Kansas City, Baltimore. And again, this could change. This is just year to date, first half season numbers. Now, San Francisco Giants, whoops, messed up. I didn't post this, but they're only down 2 units. And you say, well, golly, they got a 682 OPS. Why are they only down 2 units on the money line? Because they have a pretty good pitching staff. They got kind of hot here to close out the first half of the season. So might want to look at them. Maybe they can improve their hitting a little bit and start to win a few more games. Detroit, excellent team to play against. Not a good hitting team, not a good pitching team, down 18 units. And then here are the Marlins, which a lot of us have made good money on this year. My buddies, I'll give them a shout out, Dogs and Aces. I've won a lot of money on the Marlins this year, myself included. Also, the Oracle has won some money on the Marlins. It's situational play when you can have Marlins a lot of times are like plus 180, plus 200. Again, they do not hit the ball well. They are just like the Giants. They were only down 2 units on the money line, but they have a pretty good pitching staff. Just can't really generate a lot of runs. So the Giants and the Marlins might want to stay against playing against them, and look at probably potentially to start the second half play against the Blue Jays, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Detroit, or play against teams that are in a slump on OPS. And I'll go ahead and pitch this right now. If you're watching and you want to pick up, I have my power rankings that I send out daily. I send these out for free. I'm going to start charging for them at some point when I get my coaching program built up or launched per se. But until then, I'll give you these power rankings for free. We give you the pitching OPS numbers for teams in the last 10 games, as well as hitting. It's a very valuable information. We break it down into power rankings. So all you have to do is just convert it to a money line. It's a great tool if you like to, quote, self-handicap, so to speak. All right, so to review all of this, number one, wager on teams that have high OPS hitting. Even if a team has, marginal pitching, if they can hit the ball, you're going to always be in the game because pitching is down this year. So you want to think about playing teams like the Yankees, Minnesota, Texas. And then number two, this is something that I started to experiment with. It's been profitable. And I'm going to do a lot of this in the second half. If the juice is too high, consider playing these teams over on team totals. For example, you might say the Yankees are favored to win. They're like at minus 165. And you look and they're playing against a team that has an average to below average pitching staff or starting pitcher. And maybe they're, say, over 4.5, minus 115 on team totals. Well, see, that's a way you can play them and benefit from them having a really good OPS hitting, but not playing high juice that you would find on the money line. So look for, a lot of these good hitting OPS teams, consider playing them on the over team totals. And a lot of times you can find a team like, Minnesota that sort of has gone under the radar. You can get them at sometimes they're like over 3.5, depending on the team that they're playing. So obviously it sounds kind of dumb, but it's easier for a team to score 5 runs than it is to score 4 runs as opposed to scoring 5. So if you can find those teams with, it's minus 110, 115, maybe even up to 120 on team totals, it's a pretty good play. I would stay away from, 6.5 team totals. A lot of times teams playing out in Colorado or even Colorado themselves, you'll see it at 6.5. It's kind of a dangerous bet because you never know what can happen. I mean, they can get cold. It's just the probability of them hitting it is very low. So you want to stay between like 4 and 5 runs, max 6 runs on a team total play. Number 3, avoid a run line. It's a tough call. I probably will end up playing some run lines, but it will be very few plays. And if you do play it, make sure that you play the away team because you will be guaranteed 9 at-bats. Remember, the home team had a losing record on the run line first half MLB season. And fourth, wager against bad teams with poor pitching and poor hitting. And currently those teams include Baltimore, Kansas City, and Detroit. And if you'd have just played against them, check this out. If you just played the money line against Baltimore, Kansas City, and Detroit, you'd be up like 60 units. Is that not crazy? So I think now, one thing I want to say, especially if I have clients watching or just anybody in general, I probably will not be playing as many games because I'm looking for a niche. Because let's be honest, how many times are you going to see Minnesota or even the Yankees with good value on the money line? So probably not going to be as many plays because I'm looking for that specific game scenario that fits what I'm trying to do. Again, I'm always going to play value. It's not like I'm all going to start playing, Minnesota minus 155. I'll never play that. Probably the max I would go would be minus 130, 135, somewhere in there. But again, it's just I'm looking for, in general, I want teams that can hit the ball well. One scenario I'm probably going to avoid that I did and that I was successful with in past years, let's say like Milwaukee, Cincinnati were playing. and I handicapped it at like a 50-50 game, I'm probably not going to play those games because I want a clear advantage in playing a team that can hit the ball and not a situation where, hey, this is a 50-50 game. It's like plus 135, 140. Situation like that, that would probably be a game now moving forward in the second half that I would pass on. So anyway, I hope this information helped you guys. Before we go, let's talk about second half season special. If you just say, hey man, forget all this, I just want your plays, I want to win. Hey, I got a second half season special. It's $99. That gives you all of July, the rest of July, all of August, all of September. I don't do the playoffs. So it's basically 3 months for $99. That's about $33 a month, about $1 a day. Email me at mg@mgcovers.com. You can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm mgcovers on there with a Z. There's links in the description box below. So if you want to take advantage of that, that is an excellent, excellent deal. And as always, hey, like and subscribe this video. I love putting out content for you guys. Greatly appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe. And in the meantime, hey man, hope everybody has a profitable second half of this season. Let's go win some money. Talk to you guys soon.